Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I feel like it's been a while since I filmed one of these, probably because it has. I hope you guys are all doing well. I am doing incredibly well out here in South Florida. I'm super happy and just super chilled right now. I'm here for another like 3 weeks, so I'm just kind of embracing all of the sun and all of the good times with my friends before I have to head back to the UK. So with that, I have obviously been doing some reading, and today I wanted to wrap up everything that I have read since I left my house back in June. But before I do that, I did want to ask you guys for a huge favor. So I have been somehow crazily shortlisted for the Book Creator of the Year Awards at the Blogosphere Magazine Awards this year. I am so mind blown about this and so grateful for every single person who nominated me in the first place. It still blows my mind. I am up against some incredible creators in that category, and I just can't believe that I'm included within those guys in this kind of final shortlist. It's amazing. So with that, obviously I need all the help I can get to win. So basically, if you guys could take 5 minutes to vote for me in that category, it would mean the absolute world to me. I will leave all the information in the down bar below. It takes literally like 2 minutes to do, but it would make me a very happy girl, and I would be forever grateful. So yeah, I will leave all the information in the down bar below. Please vote for me. Thank you in advance, and obviously I will be taking you guys along with me to the awards ceremony next month. So yeah, that's a thing that's happening in my life that my little brain cannot like process, but yeah, it's very exciting. Anyway, on to today's video. So I was going to do like a what I read in July kind of wrap up, but then realized that I had my worst reading month I think ever in July, and I only read 4 books. I was in a massive reading slump. One of the books that put me in the reading slump I will be showing you in a minute, and it was just not a good time of my life. So I thought instead I would wrap up all the books I've read since I left my house at the end of June, because there was a few that were read between the end of June and the start of July, when everything kind of fell apart for me reading wise. So yeah, that is what we're going to do. And to start that off, we are going to be talking about Juniper Hill by Devney Perry. I loved this book. So in my recent romance haul video, I talked about the fact that I've been getting really into small town romances, and this book just, it was just perfection. So this one's a Grumpy Sunshine. It's part of the Eden series, which again I spoke about in that haul video. Basically, the Edens is like a series which follows the various different Edens family members and their respective love interests and kind of their journey to finding each other. So it's very much like a companion series. You can absolutely pick up each book individually. You don't need to read them in order. However, obviously depending on which book you pick up and when, there will be certain little spoilers for the other couples in there, because the couples do kind of appear throughout each other's books. So if you want to avoid any spoilers at all, read it in order. If you're not bothered, then each one kind of works as a standalone. But Juniper Hill is a Grumpy Sunshine, and it follows Knox and it follows Memphis. Memphis turns up in Quincy with her little boy who's like a newborn, and she's going to be going to work for the hotel that the Edens own in town, but she doesn't have anywhere to stay. So her new boss nominates her to basically stay in Knox's little kind of guest house above his garage, and that's where she stays, much to his complete disgust. Like, he doesn't want her there, he doesn't want a baby around, he's very much Mr. Bachelor, just wants his own space, but suddenly finds himself kind of getting very curious about Memphis, and finds himself kind of taking her and the baby under his wing, and then things start to happen. I really love this. This was like wholesome vibes. I love Devney Perry's writing style. I love the way that she just creates such a vivid setting that you can just pick yourself up and just plonk yourself down into, and it feels as though you're there. You know, this has given me so many cravings to visit Montana at some point in the near future. So yeah, if you like the whole small town romance vibes and you like wholesome, cute stories with lovely family and a great cast of extended characters, then I very much recommend the Eden series. I definitely also want to pick up more of Devney Perry's books after I finish the Edens. So that is definitely something I intend to do. When I get home, I've got Christmas in Quincy, which is technically the first of these books, but it's a little novella. I have that to read, and also Garnet Flats, which is the newest release, which is the 3rd book. which we get a teaser for at the end of this one, which apparently everybody is saying is amazing. So I think that's hit the USA Today bestseller list this week, and also the Wall Street Journal bestseller list this week, which for a self-published book I feel like is really good going. Also, this lighting here is really annoying me. I'm gonna try and like, that's better. Okay. Honestly, you guys, like trying to create a filming setup in this apartment has not been easy. Anyway, so I'm gonna open Goodreads so I can keep track of the order I read everything else in. So I read Juniper Hill first, and I was about 100 pages off finishing it before I left. So I read that on the coach down to London. And then I picked up Brightside by Kim Holden on my Kindle, which I've had on my Kindle for a while and I've been putting off reading because I kind of was no longer that interested in it. And then I thought, oh, I'll just pick it up on this trip and just see. Oh my God, you guys, I cried so hard at that book. Like, I sobbed. I was like full on ugly crying in my hotel room at the airport, like literally having a crisis thanks to that book. It was so sad. It was so sad. But the thing with the book is, so I gave it 4 stars. And oh, I gave Juniper Hill 4 stars as well. So the only thing that stopped this from being a 5-star for me is that I didn't really care about the story at all until I hit the 75% mark. And then at the 75% mark, that is when things started getting really emotional. I cried through the last like 25% of the book. Like I completely just sobbed my way through the ending of it. And I was not okay at all. But leading up to that point, it was very much like I could have just put it down and forgotten about it. So that was kind of annoying. But basically the book follows Kate, and she is leaving her hometown and she's leaving her best friend, and she's kind of moving across the country to go to college. And throughout the first like 50% of the book, she's dropping various hints as to like her sister back home and her best friend and the relationship she has with him. They've just slept together for the first time, so it's kind of changed the dynamic of their relationship, all this kind of stuff. And then when she moves, she also meets a guy at a coffee shop who she's interested in, and it's like their relationship unfolding too. And the thing that I found annoying about this book was I guessed all of the plot twists. I guessed every single one way before it happened. I guessed what happened because Kate like constantly hints at various things in her own life as well, like in her present kind of experience. And I guessed absolutely every single one of them. So that kind of put a bit of a shadow on my reading experience, because I don't like to guess things so easily. I do like to be surprised by a book, and that one held 0 surprises for me whatsoever. But I will say it was a very good read. It was well written. It was just too easy to guess. But I enjoyed it. Like I say, it was very, 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 very emotional. I would definitely look up some trigger warnings before you read it. I'm not going to give them in this video because I feel like if I do, it will then give away the plot twist for anybody who's not read it yet. But yeah, I would definitely look up trigger warnings beforehand. It was good. It was a tearjerker. It was a 4 out of 5 stars. I think if I hadn't cried for the last 25% of the book, it would definitely have been a 2 or a 3 star. But it was just that kind of crazy emotional reaction that it brought out in me that made me rate it higher. So that was Brightside. Then on the plane, I pretty much read the entirety of Hook, Line and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, and this again I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this a lot more than It Happened One Summer. Okay, this apartment has literally 0 soundproofing. Yeah, I enjoyed this more than It Happened One Summer, and I think that is pretty much 100% because I read It Happened One Summer when I had COVID, and I don't think I was like fully like invested in it or paying proper attention to what was happening. So I would actually quite like to reread that at some point in the future, and maybe even reread this as well, because I did very much enjoy this duology. But for anyone who hasn't read either of them, It Happens One Summer is a Schitt's Creek inspired rom-com following a party girl from LA who is sent to a remote fishing town in Washington to kind of calm herself down after a huge like bust-up party in LA. And while she's there, she discovers a lot about her own history and her own family, because originally that is the town that she was from and the town in which her father died. So she ends up making kind of a life for herself there. And then this one follows her sister Hannah, who we saw a lot of in the first book. And this is her and her own kind of story. So the first one is Enemies to Lovers, this one is Friends to Lovers, and I really, really enjoyed the romance in this book. I think I enjoyed it way more than It Happened One Summer. I feel like this felt way more believable and just way more fleshed out. The characters had a lot more depth to them, and the actual romance itself had a lot more depth as well. It was kind of built on an actual foundation, and it made it a lot more believable than in the first book, where just, yeah, not so much. So this, yeah, it was really good. I liked the chemistry. I found the dynamic really interesting and fun, and it was just a great book. And like I say, I read pretty much the entire thing on my flight out here. So it was, you know, if a book can distract me from turbulence and make my flight a pleasant experience, you know it's a good one, and that's what this one did for me. So yeah, I'd even be tempted to say that was more of like a 4.5 out of 5 than 4-star, thinking about it, because it did things for me, you know. Then I read Lessons in Sitting by Pam Godwin, which I gave 3 stars. I read this one on my Kindle, and this one was marketed, well, not marketed, but it was kind of described as similar to Priest by Sierra Simone, which, if you have watched my videos or my TikToks, you will know I read a few months ago and was obsessed with. Anything that Sierra Simone writes, though, I'm almost guaranteed to be like completely in love with. So like, I mean, it does make sense. Why am I so out of focus? So yeah, I picked up Lessons in Sin because I thought it was gonna be very similar to Priest, and in some ways it was, but in a lot of ways it wasn't, and it fell flat for me. And this was the start of my reading slump because it took way longer for me to read than it should have done. Granted, I was also having a lot of fun the week that I was reading this, so I was less kind of reading and more kind of just living life, you know. But this basically takes place in kind of, I guess, like a reformatory school or a reformatory school, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And it is about, I can't remember Tinsley. So it's about Tinsley, and she is sent to this reformatory school where she meets Father Magnus, who is kind of tasked with reforming her, basically. But of course they have a sexual relationship. This has a major age gap, so I think he's like in his 40s, she's 18. So that's the first thing. There's a lot of trigger warnings in this. There's very much like an abuse of power, like a really skewed like power dynamic in this book completely, and that kind of didn't sit well with me. I feel like with Priest, like they were both adults, okay, so there was no kind of like skewed power dynamic there at all. It was just they were both consenting adults who were having a great time together, you know, whereas this was very much like a teacher massively taking advantage of his student. And I think the kind of setting with it being like in a religious kind of background was just done for like the shock value rather than to actually add anything to the plot. I really didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I would do. I thought the smut was like substandard as well. Like it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and that was really disappointing. But it is what it is, you know, it is what it is. Then after that, I read the book which is pretty much solely responsible for me reading so little in July, and I was really disappointed by this. This is City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. This is the first book in the House of Devils series, and I'm 99.9% sure I will not be continuing with the series any further. I think I gave this 2 stars. I gave this 2 stars. So, I mean, that says enough, I think, really. And it is a long book to be like forcing your way through if you don't enjoy it. But yeah, I really did not vibe with this. So the reason I picked this one up to begin with is because it was marketed as very similar to Crescent City, and if you know me at all, you will know Crescent City is my favorite book. It just is. I love it. To me, it's faultless. I adore it. So when I saw this being kind of described as like the next Crescent City, obviously I was all over it like a rash, you know, and I was so disappointed. It was like the author just basically picked and chose her favorite scenes from Sarah J Maas books and Leigh Bardugo and everyone else, and just rewrote them into her story. Essentially, there was nothing in this that I have not already read. There was literally Rhys and Feyre in the night court, that scene on the chair with the people. I'm trying not to give any spoilers. That played out again in this, almost word for word, like identical. So things like that, it just really annoyed me, and it definitely just took me out of the story completely. I also felt like it was repetitive. I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care what happened at all, any point of the plot. I was just not engaged. And then to make it worse, there was a death in this, which was just in my head completely unnecessary. And yes, it was kind of rectified, but even so, I just didn't like it. I really didn't like it. So that was a 2-star read for me, and it was like 600 pages. Oh, it's 730 pages that I had to battle through. And like, also, this has got really beat up while I've been over here. I feel kind of bad. Part of me wants to leave this here because it's a very heavy book to cart back with me, but then also I can't, because it's, regardless of the fact that I didn't enjoy it, it's still one of my babies, and it means that I have to bring it home. Anyway, then I read Pack Up the Moon by Kristen Higgins, which is this wonderful piece of literature here. So this, I think I gave 3 stars to. it wasn't like mind-blowing, but it wasn't terrible either. It was very, very, very reminiscent of P.S. I Love You. If you've read that or watched the movie, pretty much an identical plot, pretty much. So this follows Josh and Lauren, and Lauren is diagnosed, they just get married and they're living their best lives, and then Lauren gets diagnosed with a terminal illness. I can't remember the name of it. Doesn't say on the back. I'm not going to find out. She gets diagnosed with a terminal illness, so she starts to like set up kind of things for when she is gone. I'm pretty sure her husband has like Asperger's or something, so he obviously is going to struggle socially and everything else when she's no longer there. So she basically writes a year's worth of letters to be delivered to him each month, giving him like different tasks and stuff to help him get over her loss, and then also to start moving on in life, which is, you know, a really great concept. And it's kind of told through like dual timelines. So you have the current timeline, which is Josh and the letters that he's receiving, and then you also get kind of past timeline through the letters that Lauren's writing, and like little snippets of her life like before she dies. And you know what, like at the end I did cry. This was another tearjerker. I did cry, but it just, I think because it was so similar to P.S. I Love You, it didn't hit for me. I feel like if I had never read P.S. I Love You, this would have been a 5-star. So if you haven't read P.S. I Love You, read this and you'll love it. If you have, still read this, but there's a lot of similarities between the two, like a lot of similarities, but it's not bad. I also don't really understand the title, Pack Up the Moon. I don't really understand the relevance of that, because I'm 99.9% certain that phrase never came up anywhere in the novel. And I don't think the moon had anything to do with anything either. Then I read on my Kindle Diver's Heart by K.A. Knight, which is the author of, or who is the author of Den of Vipers, which I read last year and really loved. This one I think I actually preferred to Den of Vipers. This one, just the plot was better and the writing was better. Den of Vipers is just all sex, all vibes, not really much plot. This is still a lot of spice, but there is a good plot as well. It's definitely much better written and much more compelling. So this is a reverse harem romance, and it follows a female diver and then a group of 4 other divers who are sent to explore a kind of cave system somewhere. It doesn't really give any details where, but somewhere. And while they're in this cave system, they come across these crazy creatures which start like attacking them, and it's their kind of escape from this really dangerous situation and rebuilding their relationships along the way, because she knew these guys previously. I don't really want to give anything more away than that, because I do feel like people would really enjoy this, especially, I mean, if you enjoyed Den of Vipers, you'll definitely enjoy this, but if you're curious about K.A. Knight and you don't want to read Den of Vipers because you know it's technically really a hot mess, like, I definitely recommend reading this one. It is very, very good. So it's an enjoyable read. It's a fun time. Then I decided I was ready to go back to Solaria. Again, if you watched my massive romance haul video a few weeks ago, you will know that I have been completely and utterly addicted to the Zodiac Academy series over the last few months before I came out here. And I decided that while I was here, I was going to read the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series on my Kindle, because that is like the prequel to Zodiac Academy. And there's some events that apparently happen in the Ruthless Boys series which are mentioned in Zodiac Academy, and there's also some like little Easter eggs and little bits of spoilers and stuff here and there. So there is a recommended reading order, and that is what I am trying to do. So I thought I'd read the first one. Guys, I gave it 2 stars. I hated it. I really, really hated it. I'm gonna persevere and read the rest of the series purely because I want to read all the Solaria books. But oh my god, if I hadn't read Zodiac Academy and I read that first, I would not be reading Zodiac Academy. I really didn't like it. I really didn't like it. So it's set at the Aurora Academy, which is a rival, not even a rival school really to Zodiac Academy, because this one's not really like academically or anything else kind of considered on the same level as Zodiac Academy. But it's set at the Aurora Academy, and it basically, we follow Elise, and she is a vampire, and her brother, who was a Pegasus, I believe, was murdered. So she's basically wanting to get vengeance on his killer, and she finds out that it is one of the self-styled kings of Aurora Academy that was behind the murder. So she takes her brother's place at Aurora Academy and she starts to investigate. She wants to get closer to the kings, and in doing so she starts to basically create a romantic relationship with all 4 of them. Incidentally, we learn in the first book that one of these guys is her fated mate as well. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, because we also do see that character in Zodiac Academy, and he is probably the most palatable out of the male characters in this so far. I just think there needed to be more world building done, because in this I feel like you just kind of dumped into the action, nothing's really explained, and you don't really kind of get a grasp on anything very well. I don't think it was particularly compelling. I didn't really care about anything that was happening. I found myself bored more times than not, and it just, I don't know, there was just something about it that just really didn't grab me, whereas Zodiac Academy grabbed me straight away and I couldn't put them down. So yeah, I don't know, like, I'm, like I say, definitely going to continue with the series. I just feel like this just wasn't the one for me. And I've seen a lot of people on Goodreads rating all of these like between 2 and 2.5 stars. So I think that says a lot, really. It's definitely not on the same level as Zodiac Academy. So if you're not bothered about reading all the prequels or anything else, I would honestly just read Zodiac and have the best time ever. And don't worry about these, because they are just, they're okay, you know, they're just okay. And then after that, I finished this one yesterday. I read Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a short story collection, and this was a bit of a hit and miss for me as well, to be honest. It's just not been a good reading time recently. This one I gave 3 stars to, and because it was a short story collection, kind of, I knew it would be a little bit up and down. I knew I wasn't going to love every single short story. However, I hope to love more than just one. And to be honest, it was the one that made me pick up this book to begin with, because I heard, I can't remember, somebody on YouTube talking about it, and the first short story is called The Husband Stitch, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, I feel like I want to read this. So this is a feminist, like a selection of feminist short stories, all by the same author. And basically it deals heavily with just the commodification of women's bodies in contemporary society, and kind of how we as women have to navigate society. It talks about reproductive rights. It talks about kind of weight loss and being under the male gaze the whole time. The pressures of kind of the way society has evolved to care so much about appearance rather than actually the in-depth workings of us as individuals. And it also deals a lot with themes of like sexual assault and stuff like that. So it's very heavy in places. I mean, I annotated the first, I don't know if you guys can see this, I annotated the first story so much because I had so many feelings when I was reading it, and the first one was a 5 out of 5 star for me. It was just very emotional, very moving, and also very, very topical with the recent kind of Roe v. Wade decision making, especially in the US. Like, honestly, a lot of this hit quite different, I think, reading it now than it would have done if I'd read it a few years ago. There was also some like weird pandemic stories in here as well that obviously hit very different, like post-COVID, and were weirdly oh god, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Weirdly reminiscent of the experiences that we all had during COVID. So it was interesting because this was written in 2017 and they're quite prophetic, I suppose. I did enjoy this, and if you are a fan of feminist literature, I would recommend picking it up. Some of them, like I say, were good, some of them not so much. I think I gave the first one 5 stars. There was a couple of 2 stars. There was a 1 star in here where for the entire short story, she basically just recounted the plot points of Law and Order SVU episodes. So that was a bit odd, and I was very bored during that one. And then there's some others that were like 3, 4 stars. So yeah, pick it up if you're into this kind of thing. Just be aware that it's kind of a mixed bag after the first one. It's, yeah, but I read that in like 24 hours. It's only a little book. So that is everything I've read so far on this trip. And it's been a very mixed bag. It's been a very, very mixed bag. I'm not looking forward to being back in the UK, but I am very much looking forward to being reunited with my book collection, because I feel like I need to be back around my babies back home. You know, I'm a mood reader, and right now there's nothing that I have here that I'm wanting to pick up right away. There's books which I do want to pick up, but I want to save them for when I'm back. So I'm in that kind of like weird, I don't really know what I want to read kind of phase right now. I have been to, sorry if you've changed slightly, I just moved you from one pile of books to another because I have been to Barnes & Noble today, and I thought I'd do a little bonus book haul at the end of this video. So I love that for you. And I'm surprised, I wasn't planning on this, but I just decided it in the moment. So today I've picked up The Witches by Stacey Sharf. This is a non-fiction. So this is kind of written, I suppose, like a true crime type book. And I think it's supposed to be written very accessibly, so it's written in the style of fiction, but this basically deals with the suspicion, betrayal, and hysteria in 1692 Salem. So this is all about the witch trials in Massachusetts. I got this for a couple of reasons. I'm not gonna really talk about all of them, or any of them really in this video, because they're very secret but very exciting. but yeah, I got this for reasons, and also I am very interested in this, and I'm wanting to learn more about US history, but I'm not going to give you the ins and outs of why. I then picked up 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This book is really heavy. This is going to be fun to get back to the UK. But this is a pandemic thriller. So it says, no one even knew they were together, and now one of them is dead. 56 days ago, Kira and Oliver meet in a supermarket queue in Dublin and start dating the same week COVID-19 reaches Irish shores. 35 days ago, when lockdown threatens to keep them apart, Oliver suggests they move in together. Kira sees a unique opportunity for a relationship to flourish without the scrutiny of family and friends. Oliver sees a chance to hide who and what he really is. Today, detectives arrive at Oliver's apartment to discover a decomposing body inside. Can they determine what really happened, or has lockdown created an opportunity for somebody to commit the perfect crime? And I just thought that sounded really good. This was the monthly pick for Barnes & Noble as well, so I thought, well, why not? That was a weird noise. Then I picked up Palm Beach by Mary Adkins, and I picked this up primarily and really just because I am currently in Palm Beach. And so I thought, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So when in Palm Beach, read Palm Beach. So this book is about two 30-year-olds or 30-somethings who move with their son to Palm Beach. Her husband has got a job with a Democratic donor, and then all of a sudden he's offered like a new role by like a multi-millionaire businessman, and so she's quite shocked at how fickle her husband becomes when they're living there. But then she also develops friendships with the women of Palm Beach, and I don't know, I don't really know much about it, but I just think it's going to be interesting. It's only a quick little read as well, but yeah, I think I'm saving this for when I get home. This is one of the ones I want to read straight away, but I'm saving because I think this is going to kind of transport me back to where I want to be when I'm back in the UK and in the cold. So yeah. Then I picked up Beautiful Little Fools by Gillian Cantor. So anyone who knows me well will know that The Great Gatsby is my favorite book ever. So anything Gatsby related, I will generally be drawn to. This one is interesting. So this is kind of a recrafting of Gatsby, but from like a women's perspective. So this follows the three kind of main women that we see in Gatsby and their experiences leading up to what happens at the end of Gatsby, and then also almost as like a epilogue of sorts, because we see what happens after the events in Gatsby as well, but again it's all from the women's perspective. So I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I'm really excited. And then finally we have My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This has been everywhere recently, so I feel like this doesn't really need much of an introduction, but I didn't know this was self-published until today, so that's interesting. But yeah, this is a girl who goes with her brother to Cape Cod. He's getting over a breakup. She just wants like a vacation. And when they get there, they find a body in their vacation home. So all of a sudden a bounty hunter turns up and he's going about his investigation, and she wants to join in because she's like a true crime junkie. And he doesn't really want her like messing up his investigation, but suddenly some of the things she starts saying make sense, and they decide to, I think, band together to try and find the killer. This is supposed to be super spicy and just generally very good, so I'm excited to dig in. Also, I'm low-key obsessed with the cover, so there's that. I think this one might be the next one I read, even though I keep promising myself I'm going to save these for when I get back, and then I just want to like delve in. So anyway, that was my wrap up and bonus haul. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've made it to the end of this video, give yourselves a pat on the back because it was a long one. I am gonna go to the beach and read my book for a little while and then come back and edit, so that is the rest of my day. But yeah, thank you for watching. Please vote for me in the awards, it would mean the world to me, and subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye guys.